don't need the logistics. You simply are able to just put it out there in soft. But a great way to ensure that you're able to invest is to actually take out of your paycheck your investment money first and then spend what is left over. So that's kind of the first thing, is you got to get money to be able to invest. Then what do you do with that investment money? And really, I think for the average person, what you want to be able to do is you want a dollar cost average. Every time you get a paycheck, you want to take some portion of it. You want to put it into the S&P 500, NASDAQ, and then I like Bitcoin as well. And the reason why those three assets is because they likely have very long-term resilience. They have a return profile that is pretty good. And also, they're very simple to understand. You kind of know what you're buying. I think where people tend to get in trouble is if you are an amateur, but you are trying to make professional moves. And so I say, just like the person who goes and plays pickup basketball on the Saturday wouldn't try to go play in the NBA, I don't think that the person who says, hey, I'm going to spend 30 minutes a month on the investing world should try to go and pick individual stocks or use leverage or short things or anything like that. And so understand kind of what your knowledge set is, understand what your kind of competitive advantage would be. And for the average person, it's actually discipline. Just simply continue to dollar cost average into very simple kind of plan, and then let time and the market do its thing. If you take the US economy in general, it has gone through a shift over the last 50 years or so. It used to be that the US economy was dominated by industrial businesses, manufacturing businesses. You can think of these companies as businesses that created physical things for the physical world. And so whether it was car manufacturers or construction or home builders, et cetera. But we've transitioned very much to a world where now you have what is considered these kind of capital light businesses. They're pretty much software oriented. They're able to create a product. They don't need a manufacturing facility. They don't need nearly as many employees per revenue as they used to need. And those businesses are really capturing a ton of the revenue. And so a very simple example would be, look at the media industry. It used to be all about newspapers and magazines. You had to make that stuff, and you had to get that logistically out to people, and you paid, subscribers and all this stuff. Now you can simply just use the internet and you can create it. You don't need that plant to print the newspaper or print the magazine. You don't need the logistics. You simply are able to just put it out there in software. And so naturally, as that transition has occurred, the businesses that are better, right? They're more capital efficient. They're able to drive more revenue per employee or more profit per employee. They continue to grow, while the businesses that are left in the traditional economy have more of a headwind. And so that shift from industrial manufacturing, kind of physical world businesses, to these kind of software oriented businesses really is the story of the last 50 years. And you can see that in the concentration you're talking about, right? The top 7 companies in kind of the S&P 500, the Magnificent Seven, they're all software based businesses that really are pretty special and by a number of different measurements. But also look at the richest people in the world, right? Really, other than Bernard Arnault, who sells kind of a luxury physical item, everyone else is based in the technology world. And so that shift, I think, is really driving changes in our everyday lives. And so naturally, that shift in our everyday lives is showing up in investment returns. And you're seeing those tech stocks are doing much, much better than maybe the rest of the S&P 500. And so that, I think, is going to be the story for the next 10 or 15 years, is a continuation of this software story. Mark Andreessen famously wrote this piece about a decade ago or so, and he said, software is eating the world. And we now are seeing very real examples of this, right? Obviously Amazon used software to eat the bookstores. You can see Facebook was able to use software to eat into the yellow pages. And you kind of go through all these examples. But software is also eating gold with Bitcoin. The kind of this software-based money is really kind of much better and more popular right now than gold. You can also then take that even a step further, obviously, with the media companies. But I think AI is really interesting. Like, AI is starting to actually eat into the number of employees a company actually hires or employs. And so software is coming for all of these different use cases. And it's going to make the world more efficient. It's going to empower some really exciting, cool things around robotics and self-driving cars and AI agents and kind of, the quote unquote, the future. But also, as investors, you have to understand, am I betting on things that I hope don't change? That would kind of be more of like a Warren Buffett style of investing. Or am I actually betting on things that I hope do change? And that would be more kind of a venture capitalist or tech stock investor. Once you understand who you are and what you're trying to do, then that really allows you to figure out where you're going to go put the money. If you think about Bitcoin, right, the way I treat Bitcoin is it is an asset that I buy, and I'm going to give it to my grandkids. So the reason why that's really important is that's not a new phenomenon with just Bitcoin. If you think of, let's take the country of India. In their culture, gold is passed down from generation to generation to generation. It could be jewelry or kind of the family gold, right? If you think in the United States, land a lot of times is passed down from generation to generation to generation. And the ability to pass these assets on from generation to generation really drives quite a bit of wealth, right? Whether it's real estate, land, gold, or any other asset. Bitcoin has a lot of the same properties of these assets. So if you think about land, it's a finite asset. They're not making more of it. Same thing with Bitcoin, right? It's a finite asset. There's only 21 million that will ever be available. If you think of gold, it has sound money principles. It's outside of the system and no one can devalue it. Same thing with Bitcoin, right? It's outside of the system and no one can devalue it. And so I like to think of there's a very small amount of assets that you can buy today, you can hold your entire life, you can pass it on to your kids or grandkids, and that is going to set up your family and kind of those that come after you to be in a really good position. So that's Bitcoin for me. It stores economic value really well over a long period of time. So I want to make sure I have that for some portion of my portfolio. When it comes to technology, I am not like a Warren Buffett. I don't want to try to bet on the world not changing. That's not how my mind thinks. It's not what I'm intellectually stimulated by. I am much more interested in how things are going to change and where that change is going to occur and who is driving that change.